Hi there, it's Carl Irwin, the Common Magician, and this evening we're going to have a special discussion. This isn't really a tutorial, it is a discussion, but it's on a topic that's probably more important than any one trick that I could teach you or that you could probably learn. And these sentiments are just my own, and I'm not the authority on this. I can just tell you what I've experienced and how I kind of experience performing magic and particular situations that I know that you probably run into occasionally as well, and the way that I handle it. And if it makes sense to you, that's great. If you disagree, have a discussion, go ahead and put a comment in the comment section. But today we're going to be talking about those hairy situations when you have someone heckling a performance, or more so than heckling, I think more so those people, the smarty pants kind of situation where someone's calling out what you're doing, or trying to expose what's going on, kind of on the fly, figuring out your trick, reverse engineering it, calling it out, just kind of dealing with spectators in that kind of situation. And some of what we're going to talk about might deal a little bit with what you do when things go wrong, when something goes wrong. There's a lot of videos out there from a number of different people, and the one thing I can promise you right here that you will find in this discussion with me is that there is no magic bullet. There's no silver bullet to any of this stuff. Those people that say, well, here's the one thing that you can say that resolves this every time. You're never going to find that statement or that comment or that tactic that just fixes these problems. You will find maybe a variety of different ideas that will work in some occasions and not in others. But I hate to tell you, there's not any one thing that resolves the issue of the smarty pants heckler, right? Or that scenario where things don't quite go the way you want them to. So let's talk about this. What do you do? What do you do in that situation? Well, is my opinion, the number one issue I think that we all need to deal with is that magic ought not be an adversarial kind of situation. It's not you versus anybody, right? It doesn't work that way. Now, at the heart of it, one could determine that it must work that way, because a magic performance, and of course the spectator side of watching a magic performance, seems quite adversarial because deception is involved, right? You are deceiving the senses of the spectator, and the magic is fulfilled when the deception is successful, when it is complete. That is essential to a magic performance, and there's really no way around that. What I'm saying is that we ought not make it a zero-sum game, right? Zero-sum game, or a zero-sum mindset, meaning that someone has to lose in order for you to win. Someone has to completely give up something in order for the other to get anything. That's not how we should look at this. And the reason is because if you make it adversarial in that way, then you already start off by having an enemy, right? You are their enemy, and you, more importantly, you begin to see the spectator as the enemy. That should never be that way. Should never be that way. And I want to address, I teach young people. I'm a school teacher. For young people that are watching this, I'm not your teacher, and you probably have particular perceptions about your teachers and how you view them. I know how that goes, right? I've got kids that I teach. I was a kid once too, and I know how that is. Just listen to me as I tell you. I've been there. I know what you're going through. There is that time working through maturity as a teenager or as a young person or a preteen, however old you are, doing magic. you're developmentally working through this time in your life where you're shedding the ego, right? That kind of self-centered perception, right? The world revolves around you. It's just something. It's something every human being goes through, and that's where you're probably at if you're a young person. You're working that out, right? That's your brain is developing in a way where that starts to be shed off, and you start thinking a little bit more about the interests of those around you over your own. This is very difficult for you performing magic because you can't help but have an adversarial kind of relationship. That feeling that I have to do this right in order to, be accepted, or to come off the right way, or to be the right influence that you want to be. What I'm telling you is just get this wisdom beyond your years, and accept that it need not be that way. Okay? If you do that, you'll come to this realization that it is okay to fail. It's all right to fail. It's all right to get it wrong, and it doesn't actually ruin the experience when you get caught. It doesn't. No, it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to at all. Except that this is a matter of deception, and your spectator is not held to some sort of contract where they have to be submissive to being deceived, right? That's not how this works. Your spectator has a right to catch you. They have a right. They have a right to catch you out, right? You're trying to deceive them with something and give them that experience of wonder and amazement. They have a right not to be amazed. They have a right to figure it out. And you ought to really kind of engineer your magic. We'll talk about in a little bit. You want to engineer your magic such that you accept that truth. That is the reality. Okay, they have a right to catch you out. You don't have to have a zero-sum situation where this works every time. Okay, and that will happen sometimes where you get caught. When you accept that, boy, things become very, very happy. It's like a load taken off of your back. Once you can accept that you can get it wrong, they have a right to catch you out. Sometimes that's going to happen, and it still can be fun. It doesn't have to be a disaster when it doesn't go right, or it goes perfectly and they kind of discover your problem. They know what's going on. So some individuals will push back on that because of their philosophy of magic, that magic should be this thing that is not merely a puzzle, right? And what I seem to be describing is much more of a puzzle than it is a magical experience. I think I understand what those people are saying. I really do. I appreciate it completely. But at the end of the day, I think that in general, spectators know that these are tricks. Some people don't like to call magic tricks. They don't like that term, a trick. Some people don't like to call them illusions. Some people don't like these other terms that are apart from the mystifying, mystical sort of terminology of magic, right? The impossibility of something, a miracle of some sorts happening. I understand that, but my point is that if your trick is successful, then the magical moment is inevitable, right? I prefer to just accept that audiences, spectators, they know I'm tricking them. They know this is a game, right? My goal is not to convince them that it's not a game. My goal is to get away with the game so that they can be amazed. That's my goal. Just some thoughts on that. Okay, so again, don't make it adversarial, first and foremost. Now, what this does for you is that if you have a spectator that's trying to call out all of your methods, you now have a way to deal with them, right? Because it's not adversarial. They're not really, I mean, someone can be a jerk. They really can, but they're not. They're not really. They don't have to be. You don't have to, they may want to be, but you don't have to see them that way. Okay, you have control over the situation. So how do I deal with a person like that? Well, someone who's calling out methods or just kind of taking all these shots in the dark. One thing that I do is I give them what they want, right? You pacify that person. They want recognition. They want to be the smart person in the room. They want to be the smartest one there. That's their desire. They want to be recognized for that. So I give it to them. One thing I'll say is, that's pretty clever thinking. Shh, right? Like, as if you're on the right track, but don't ruin it for anybody else, right? Just give it to them. Give it to them. They might even be dead on, right? Just accept it, that there is a trick behind this. They may be onto it. They may not be. Say, clever thinking. Shh. Let this work out. Just give it to them. And if they persist after that, there's some things you can do. Number one being cut and run, right? That's not the person you want to be performing in front of. You want to kind of end what you're doing and get out of there. There's some other things you can do too, but just give them what they want, give them the recognition, pacify them, and move on. Clever. You're shh, right? That's all you got to do. You don't have to try to convince them that they're wrong. You don't have to lie. You don't have to do anything else. Just tell the truth and move on with it. And be friends with them. They're welcome to be here. They're welcome to do what they're doing, but shh, don't let them in on it, right? That's one, I think, disarming way to deal with people that try to do that. Other ideas. Prevention is key. Prevention is key. I think the primary goal is to not be in those situations at all in the first place. See if you can just kind of work your magic so that you prevent that kind of scenario from happening in most cases. Magic is fun when it works, and magic is fun when it doesn't. That's true, and hopefully I've made that point. But I think that if you kind of prevent the situation from unfolding such that you have people that are antagonistic, that's even better than just accepting that magic is fun when it works or when it doesn't. Okay, that performing can be entertaining for you and rewarding for you. And I look at it this way: it's kind of like if you've ever been dragged along to do some kind of an activity or a sport that you didn't much like, right? I went golfing one time and I had someone with me that just hated it, right? They hated it. They griped and complained and that nothing was working, and it was just the worst few hours ever trying to get them through the course, because of the way they viewed the activity. And what the problem was is that they couldn't accept that they could just be bad at it, right? If you take yourself too seriously, there's no way to enjoy it. If you can just accept that the activity itself is enjoyable, whether you're bad at it or not, that puts your brain in a better place, right? It can be even very rewarding going, doing golf or something like that and being completely lousy at it. That can be a total riot, right? That can be a load of fun. It could be something you want to go do again, just to go be bad at it because it was just so enjoyable in the moment to just kind of laugh at yourself and be self-deprecating. Okay, so that's the point. Not that we want to be bad at our magic. We want to be successful in our deception. So prevention. One thing that I want to drive home is that weak methods can be contextually made strong. However, weak methods are still weak. Okay? I talked about equivoque on here a number of times. I love equivoque. I use it quite a lot. But there's some people I will not do that for. I'm not going to enter in to a performance with certain people using those kinds of methods. And it's not because they're smarter than others, right? Or that other people are stupid or anything. It's just my relationship with those people doesn't give me a chance at controlling the situation well enough to make it work, right? Think of it like this. If you've ever bought a car One smart thing to do when you go buy a car is take someone else with you, not your spouse, right? Take a friend. Certainly plan ahead, know what you want to do, have it all lined out, stick to it, and then go into the place, but with someone else who has no skin in the game watching everything. Bring along the spectator that can objectively look at the situation and give you feedback. That is the kind of spectator you don't want to be performing weak methods for. Someone who can kind of stand on the outside and they know the game, right? Family and friends. Family and friends fit into this group quite often. I remember it was on Instagram, and it might have been Jason Ladani, I think, was who it was having a little bit of a back and forth with some of his followers about this. And someone said something like, yeah, but it doesn't work whenever I perform for family and friends. And Ladani, he's a pro. He does work. This is a full-time thing for him. He fairly curtly said, don't perform for family and friends. He's not wrong about that, right? There is a sense perhaps in which we all should be performing more for strangers than what we sometimes do. But I'm here talking to the common magicians out there. You're going to be performing for your family and friends. I mean, for people like you and me, or certainly like me, maybe not like you, but for people like me, if I don't perform for family and friends, I'm not going to be performing very much, right? There's those opportunities where people know me and I'm performing for them. I think what you really need to do is you need to use methods that fit that context better. Con men can't con their families, right? The family of a con man, or con woman, con lady, whatever, I don't know, whatever that is. The family of a con person knows they're a lowlife. They can't get away with it with them. It just isn't going to work. They got to go to the stranger, right? That's Ladani's point. That's kind of the point he's making. You're going to have to use methods that stand up to those situations where you don't have control. That might mean that really slick, cool visual piece of magic that you bought online that has really bad angles just is not going to fly with your family and friends. They're going to bust on you. They're going to want to see everything. I have family, my father. If I say, put out one finger and go ahead and touch any card, and I do this, you know what he'll do? He'll go like this. He'll take it out, right? He won't play, right? He won't play along. I can't do that. That kind of a presentation doesn't work. Doesn't matter how specific I am with it. That will not work with him. I got to do something else. That kind of a relationship requires me to do a trick where I say, take the cards, shuffle them. Go ahead, take out any card, take a look at it, stick it back in there and shuffle it. I got to have a method that can deal with that. That's where my method has to be on that level. I got to be, very free. I've got to be using those kind of self-working principles that happen in the open. Pharaoh shuffles, right? Crisscross force, down under deal, symmetrical shuffling, right? That's where you have a card here, right? And you have someone shuffle that part over here and have someone shuffle that part over here, and you put them back and your card's still where it needs to be. These kinds of extremely open, slightless, everything happens in the open. You can see what's going on, but the mechanics are very hard to engineer, right? To reverse engineer, I should say. Those kinds of methods work best with family and friends. It's a very doing magic for close family and friends is a very sterile kind of experience, right? Your charisma and personality cannot control that situation. Whereas I can do equivocate extremely on the nose, with someone who has a more distant relationship with me. Okay, because I can control the environment. I can be the car salesman in that moment, because they don't know that I'm turning a switch on and behaving differently to get them to do what I want. Okay, so weak methods can be contextually made very strong, but keep in mind that those methods can't be used all the time. You're going to have to give those up contextually in certain places, and you have to rely on other methods, and you can only do that kind of magic. So again, think about it like angles. Whenever you're doing a sleight, right, you have to worry about the angles of whatever you're doing. You know, if you're doing a shift, you have to worry about who can see what where, and what angles are bad. Whenever you're doing magic, there's other angles to consider, not just the physical ones. There's mental angles, right? What does a person know about me? What does a person know about the way I behave and the questions I ask and what I would tend to do and what I would tend to say and what is out of character for me, right? If someone knows the real me intimately, they know they're going to recognize the flim-flam me when it comes out. There's really no way to get around that, okay? You got to watch all the angles, not just the physical ones. You got to watch those mental ones as well. Those methods that have really bad mental angles in certain company, don't do that magic there, right? You don't do angle-sensitive magic, physical angle-sensitive magic when you're surrounded. You don't do those tricks then. You save them for a more opportune time. So it goes with certain methods that people that know you can see through. You know, those things that require charisma and personality misdirection and that kind of stuff. Because you just can't, you can't get away with that in certain company. Other ideas. Speak less. Speak less. Say fewer things. This is really hard for someone like me. I like to talk. I speak extemporaneously all day long, 5 days a week, 10 months out of the year, right? I talk. I teach things. I say stuff. I take questions. I respond in the moment. I love to talk. It's just what I do. It's my living, right? So when I do my magic, it's hard for me to remember to not talk so much and do more. Make things more self-evident, because the talking can really trip you up. The talking can give away an awful lot. The talking can get in the way and really tip off the spectator. So say less. You can go so far as to say nothing at all, right? I could do that exact same kind of, a sort of spread call force or something, and I could do it this way. Right? I could do that and then have them follow along. And just that interaction has its own charm to it, its own charisma, the teller kind of effect, right? That can be very disarming, and it can help to hide a lot of method and help to eliminate the adversarial kind of relationship that can come about from their perspective. If you're not saying anything or you're saying very little, then they have very little to reply to or to play upon or to catch you out on, right? Now, I don't necessarily recommend that you go off miming your show, but speak less. Speaking less can help a great deal. Only say what needs to be said. Okay, so speak less, and when you say what you need to say, only say what needs to be said, and say exactly what needs to be said. Say exactly what needs to be said and nothing more. Okay? Be specific. As a teacher and working with young people and even working with adults sometimes when I have to present in certain situations with adults, it's very important to be specific and to say everything that needs to be said and heard, right? That's how procedures run smoothly. When my class comes in for a classroom kind of situation where there's, work written work to be done. I don't teach a lot of that because I'm a music teacher, but in some of the classes I teach where that has to happen, it's not enough for me to meet the kids at the door and have them come in and say, go ahead, have a seat, we'll get started in a minute. What I want to do is I want to say, go to your seat, get out your Chromebook or whatever, right? Go to the Google Classroom. I want you to open up the first assignment that's on there, and I want you to answer the first question. Make sure that you hit submit. I have to be that specific, right? When they come in, I have to say exactly what I need to say and what needs to be done, and that's how class runs well, okay? Tricks work the same way. Say exactly what needs to be said, say all of it, don't leave anything out, and try to keep it efficient. Make it efficient. That can be very, very helpful. You can be brutally honest with this kind of thing too. It also helps with those kinds of people that don't like to follow directions, right? I kind of draw an analogy, and it's not really an analogy, it is the same thing. You've seen those like magic eye, optical illusion kinds of things that you can get, those books where it looks like a bunch of, weird shapes and patterns, and if you hold it at a certain, distance and you look past it and your eyes cross and focus in a certain way and it overlaps these patterns, you can get the 3D effect, right, that comes out of it, that it's engineered to do. This whole thing has rules. You have to look so far past it and through it. Your eyes have to be defocused, right? You have to do this. If you don't do these things, you can't see it. If you just look at it, you can't see it. You have to follow the rules. If you're going to do some kind of stereoscopic illusion, right, you have to have your eyes in a certain way or it cannot work. So it goes with magic. One thing that you can say to people that are not participating well is, I need you to do it this way, otherwise this won't work. That's just being honest, right? I want you to see this. So come on, I have something that's angle sensitive, right? If I'm doing something that requires this angle to be blind, what I'll say is, why don't you step over here real quick, because I want you to see this better. It won't work if you're over there. I'm just telling the truth. I don't have to be weird and covert about it. I don't have to just say, if you stand over there, you'll see how the trick is done. I can use other words and just truthfully say, step over here so that this will work for you. I want you to see it. Just be honest. Just be honest. Don't try to trick people twice. You already have a high bar to trick them one time. I don't need to trick them into tricking them. Does that make sense? So just be honest with your situation when you have someone that's not participating well. Say, well, this won't work if we do that. I need you to listen very closely and do as I say so that this works for you. That's nothing wrong with that. They again, it comes back to the very beginning, full circle. They know it's a trick. They know that you're being deceptive. You can just flatly explain that the deception works. The deception only works if you do this way. We want this to work. Very open, honest things to say, I think, to make your magic work better, to eliminate the adversarial kind of relationship that can develop, and to get everybody on the same page and on the same side. Last thoughts. Kinds of magic that you can do that work 99.9% of the time. Those tricks where you are so far ahead, those are good to bring out when you get hecklers, right? The kinds of tricks that just are extremely ahead. Simple tricks that have very fundamental methods. Magicians think that everybody knows Crazy Man's handcuffs. They don't. Nobody knows that trick, okay? It's I know it's all over YouTube and whatever, and it's been taught badly so many times. Nobody knows that trick. It's a go-to of mine. If I have a difficult audience and I'm very worried about them, close relatives, whatever, I'll do that. I'll do a few rubber band effects because usually the methods are extremely simple. Usually the coverage is such that it can be done surrounded. And it's hard hitting. It's good stuff. I mean, it's just really, really good. And I know it's going to work. I can do it in my sleep. I know it's going to work. It's not difficult for me. It's just a surefire win, right? I'll do that. Card force and revelation. Basic card force and some kind of amazing magical revelation, right? Put more thought into the revelation than the force itself, right? But doing those kinds of tricks, it's a really simple method. I'm just forcing, or I'm just peaking, right? And then put all of the weight in the revelation, all the stuff where you don't have to do any work. The work is all here. The work is all here. The work is all here. It's not here, right? Those kinds of tricks. Unorthodox methods I've talked about before. Crimping a card. If I'm doing card tricks and I've got a really crummy spectator that just won't let you do anything, be free with it. Crimp the card, let them shuffle, do whatever, get it cut to the bottom. And now you're in a situation where you can just pull out of one of any dozen revelations. And again, put all of your weight on the revelation because the method is just stupid simple and it's going to work. It's far beyond their understanding of card magic. They're going for the cereal box methods, the key card kinds of stuff, right? Get over that. Do the more underground thing, the crimping, simple, cut it, do revelation. That's it. So surefire stuff, have a repertoire of that you can pull out in a moment. And if you have those spectators that are just being a real pain, end it. End it. Even if you lose, even if you get caught, right? End it with very clever. You got me that time. I'll come back with something else. I'll get you again. I'll have to think about this a while. I've got a few up my sleeve. I'll bring back to you some other time. You don't have to be, just because they're being a jerk doesn't mean you have to be one too. It can be very rewarding to just accept that. So anyway, those are my thoughts. So about a half-hour discussion on the topic here, on my feelings on what do you do with hecklers? What do you do when things go wrong? What do you do? It's fun. It's a fun thing to do. It's really fun when it goes well, but it's just a fun thing to do at a very fundamental level. If you don't feel that way about it, I'm sorry for you. I think you should really consider your philosophy and reevaluating it. This is fun. This can be fun even with difficult people, and you can just be open and honest about it, make it enjoyable, and just cancel those people out. Be disarming in that way and enjoy your time. On top of that, the last thing I'll end with is that it's okay to make mistakes, just in general, right? If you're going to do a trick and you make a mistake, what that does is, and you've heard this before, but it's true. I'll repeat it. You make a mistake, that really teaches you how better to do it, right? You can learn that a certain method you might be trying does not work for you very well. Maybe you need more practice on the method, but maybe the method just doesn't work for you very well. Maybe you need to re-engineer it and find a different tactic that works better for you. And you only learn that by getting caught, by getting hit every now and then. And it happens to all magicians, the very, very best that are out there. They all have stories, right? You can hear great stage illusionists. You can, David Copperfield tells stories about when bad things have happened in shows. That stuff doesn't get in the news. It just stuff happens. It happens with some regularity. There's all kinds of interesting stories there. Don't dwell on that. You learn from it, and then you try again, or you do something else, or you move on. So anyway, good luck with that. Happy magic.